Cool. So hey, everybody, it is the 7th of September, 2023. This is Plutus PBL live coding with Gimbal Labs and friends. The date is not the 6th, but we have yesterday's notes up on the screen here because a few different people have done some follow-up work. Basically, what we do is we get together every Wednesday and Thursday at 14:30 UTC. And if I zoom out, you can see that we've been doing it this way for a couple of weeks at this point.
Couple months.
Nice little log that we've developed there. But one of the questions, Newman, that you asked yesterday was, and you actually set a learning target for yourself, which I have follow-up thoughts on that. But you said your goal is you want to be able to talk about the EUTXO model.
Yeah, I heard someone really should have known or been able to give a better answer, not sort of fumble. And I was like, how would I answer that question? And then immediately thought of like, oh, that's a something that I want to change about myself, and thought of the student learning target. That's something that, I can, help here. And we work with these UTXOs all the time, but they kind of lose their meaning. Anyway, I wanted to circle back and say, okay, what exactly is it? And why is it different than Bitcoin, which is not that much different than Bitcoin? And why is it different than Ethereum? It is very different than Ethereum. So I posed that question. And then actually one thing that I want to mention is that I had a great time working on my own in my own breakout room. We don't have to always be together. I went back and got really, reconnected with going through the modules, and was able to mint tokens 3 different ways. Minted my own token, the piece of 5, not like a riff on pieces of 8. So I made a new token, which I think is a great thing. But then I circled back, I came in and I checked in on the main group. And then at some point, Alex made a comment there, and sent me over to a speaker from a Haskell conference, named John Hughes, not the 80s teen movie director, John Hughes, but, I think it's called Quick Check. And it's all about testing smart contracts, and then all of a sudden thinking like how important that is and why Haskell is so key, and really a differentiator. And so I went down this little bit of a rabbit hole, and I really got a much better understanding of the UTXO model and the extended UTXO model. Basically, that to take the opportunity is that it doesn't rely on an account. It's just everything is a transaction. It's either a spent or unspent transaction. And that, I guess, conceivably, like all the money is there. It's either spent or unspent, and that's what we move around. And that there is no, because it was explained once before with change. Like, what do you do in an account model? Where does the change, having this double, anyway, it got me into great, beautiful learning, and it was a real win. It was a win, that I can say thank you to several different groups and people, and especially Alex for dropping that. Looking at because I don't think he was here at live coding. I think he came back to the Miro board and saw the question. Was like, oh, here you go. So it was really wonderful on many different levels. So thank you.
Awesome. I just dropped that video link here on our shared Miro, and the Miro link in the Zoom chat, just in case anybody wants to look that up. Very cool. And this is an example, just to echo what Newman was saying. We can always turn on breakout rooms, and if people want to go off and go deep, for example, into Quick Check, that's a great example of something that people can do. And as we're moving into the part of the course where we're all specializing a bit more, I think that's going to start to happen more often.
Yeah. And the idea is that you can kind of come back and check in, and that we're sort of, we are, we're a decentralized team actually, and in different time zones. And there's just a ton. That was just a beautiful interaction.
Really cool. Right there. There were some messages in the Gimbal Labs Discord as well, about maybe needing to run live coding at different times. For example, we are we're not welcoming the Eastern Hemisphere, for example, to these meetings by doing it at the time we're doing them. So, right, there's going to be chances to start getting creative about how we share spaces. So what we do each day, I see a few new folks here. Chris, welcome. Not sure if you've been here before, and Vinay, I know it's been a while, but it's great to see you here.
Yay.
Everyone else, cheers. But what we do is we have a chance just to share what we're working on, something that either you want to go deeper into, or a question you have, or something you're stuck with. So whether you're new here or you've been coming here often, anybody want to share about something you're working on or struggling with? We've got hardware, we've got point of sale terminals.
New housing. It's
Excellent.
low pressure polyurethane mold. So I can make like 10 a day with that.
Really?
Instead
Okay.
of printing, takes long.
Right. Very cool. It looks more ready for production every time you hold it up. It's really incredible.
This is step further.
Yeah.
I'm like the next step is the Game Changer needs to release version 2, and then I'm working on the loyalty stuff. So
Awesome.
it's getting somewhere. Interesting stuff.
Yeah. And actually related to that, like as we start dipping our toes into smart contracts, one of the things we talked about but didn't go deep into was looking at module 204, which shows us some of the design patterns that we might be using. And if you're working on loyalty contracts, for example, I think the project here has a few things that might help. Anybody else want to share? Vinay, any updates? How's Kanma going?
Good, James. We have some blockers when it comes to Plutus. So, yeah, you're looking into it.
Cool. Brigham, as we do move on to the later stages of this course, where the real focus is specialization and contribution, hopefully the question emerges, well, what are we contributing to? And anybody here who has something that A, you need to learn about and share, but B, that you might be open to other folks contributing to, make sure to bring those topics up. And the course is flexible. We can add different modules. We can add new learning targets. Newman, my wake-up thought today was just hearing you talk about having this new learning target for yourself. I would love to have a way in the course to represent that. People can share their own learning targets. And maybe we can have these new kind of emerging modules full of the learning targets that everybody here is bringing.
So we have a solution built on Haskell, but the Plutus framework is yet to be done. So once that is done, we'll be more than happy to just put that forward to the team.
Awesome. Thanks. That's exciting. Chris, you're getting started. That's awesome. Welcome. Looking forward to hearing more about what you want to work on. Anybody else?
I have something to share, but it's in progress. But it's very interesting.
What you got?
Have you heard of Fortuna, the meme coin?
Yep. The proof of work meme coin that uses a contract to see if you're running a miner.
Yes. Well, the idea there is that there is a proof of concept of a coin that is running right now on mainnet, where you can mint tokens using proof of work. So currently there's no use case to that, but I'm figuring out how to use the hash as a source of randomness. So I'm experimenting with that right now.
The hash of like a minting transaction?
Yes, because every 3 minutes a new datum is produced, and you can use that as a source of randomness that you can later do for example, pseudo random number generators. You can do that. So
Wow.
currently
Very
I'm
interesting.
experimenting with that.
Very interesting. Randomness, speaking of rabbit holes, like that's one we could go down, right? Like how do we talk about randomness in a
it's a rabbit hole
programming language?
for sure.
Yeah. I mentioned in a different community meeting, I'm reading a book right now by a writer named James Bridle called Ways of Being. And it talks about the different places that intelligence comes from. But there's a whole chapter about randomness and the struggle to get computers to generate random things. So if you're looking for kind of an interdisciplinary look at the topic, it's a pretty interesting read.
How it's the name of the book or the
Ways of Being?
Ways of Being.
Cool. Yeah, and this is the link to the Fortuna repo for anybody who's interested in taking a look at that.
It's a crazy idea, Fortuna. I think
it's really like, right, because proof of work is always going to have its proponents. There's always going to be reasons that people can create for saying, well, I want that kind of assurance, right? And so building that bridge is really interesting. I see Newman's working on module 2023, so we could look at that today. So one thing we discussed yesterday was jumping into the project in 204 and doing some troubleshooting. Module 202.3, what's that one about? This is minting with mesh, for example. So
2023 is minting with mesh. I did a native script, and then there was, what was the one after? One before it was native script, and then the one before that was actually Game Changer wallet. Which, by the way, there is some, because we put Game Changer as 202.1, and we kind of bumped some of the names. So some of the names in the materials are off by one.
Oh, they're a little bit off. Okay, we got to look at that and update that. But yeah, this, for anybody who's earlier in the course, when you get to module 2, you will learn about minting tokens in a bunch of different ways. And I want to just highlight this piece right here, because this process is one that you're going to continue over and over again as a Cardano developer. You'll create ways of either minting tokens or validating against a contract address, and you'll test it using a tool like Cardano CLI, for example. But the goal for end users is not to just expose everybody to Cardano CLI. The goal is to build kind of web applications that increase adoption and everybody can use. So when you're ready and you know that your transactions work, and hopefully, like Newman said, right, everything's a transaction. On Cardano, we talk about UTXOs. Everything is either the input to or an output from a transaction. And actually, those two things are exactly the same. They're called the UTXO, right? So once you understand how transactions work, you can practice building them. And then once you know they do work as expected, you start to build user-facing applications. And that's what we're starting to do. One way to do it is in a JavaScript-based project, in which case we can use mesh. This is absolutely not the only way to build UIs, but it's a pretty user-friendly way to start. But yeah, I really want to highlight this bit. If you're doing this loop for the first time, it's a loop that you're going to revisit over and over again, just in greater depth as you keep going.
Yeah, that's what I sort of had, because I did it. I think I did it in like a different, once I was working with mesh, I was like, oh, I really should go back and really learn Grok, kind of like have that really imprinted and embedded. Like that's I've heard it called like cardio. Like if you just do it over and over and over again, and you just kind of like, it becomes a very, very solid pattern, a reliable pattern that you can call on. Yeah, so if
it's
anyone,
part of your mental model.
yeah, exactly. And then it becomes part of the mental model, and you can kind of see and understand. And then the reason why to have such a solid mental model like that is because then that's where creativity springs from. You're like, oh, I could do this. For instance, with that John Hughes video, he explained a similar a test application for the UTXO model with the guessing game. Which is sort of like what you all were doing with the auction. It's just like, oh, there's a secret word, and you get an auction, and so yeah, once you start to see that, then creative projects, creative ideas, applications, and ways to use it, come to mind. And really, that's what I'm here for. Like, is to learn how to build something fun and interesting, and possibly game changing. Out there in the world. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I can see a connection from looking at minting and mesh would give us a chance just to look a little bit more at the mesh APIs. And then that could actually segue nicely into looking at what we're trying to view in the front end in module 204. So maybe we could say like we could focus on one or the other, or we could combine these two into kind of a survey of these two concepts. How would that sound to everybody?
That's good for me. I wouldn't mind driving. Yeah.
Any objections to this approach right here? If we do a little bit of looking at module 204 and the mesh docs, and then we transition into the project and we try to do some troubleshooting and make sure that everything's showing up the way it should. All right, I think it's ambitious but achievable for the next 50 minutes that we have together. Yeah, Newman, do you want to drive as we take a first look at module 202, and then we'll transition over into the project?
Sure, let's do it.
Cool. I'm going to stop sharing for now.
You should see. Look, here's the search for John Hughes UTXO.
That's all you get.
Let's see. Okay, here's this. Let me get my up here. So this is where I stop the video at this link at second 492. And I can kind of orient you all. Let's go back.
So this is using CLI. You said you finished.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good one to sort of start, maybe. First talking about the difference between a shell script and a Cardano script, which I thought was good. That this very basic native script that basically just says, this is the hash of my public key, which is V, because the other one is S, and S in my mind stands for secure. That's how I remember it, sure enough. And we create this hash key with this CLI command, key hash. And then we need a policy ID. Does that, we find, I guess we have to create a policy ID. Oh, it's created from the script. Okay, and then it uses this transaction command. And then, oh, do we use the bash script for this? Yeah, we use the bash script for this. And here I can, let me hop over. Let's see, help me out here. How can we get back into that? Oh, well,
You've got
here's,
you've got the script open there. There's your policy. But basically, if you want to, you can simply run that shell script, mint-tokens-native script. And if you just show us that file for just a sec. This one at the top of this file, I just got to remember, yeah, it takes just the wallet that you want to mint from. Okay.
Right, and that's this usage. So we gotta run this script and then just your path to the wallet directory. I have that. I was gonna call my. Do you see this? I was trying to come up with my name for my coin, and I was like Newman Bucks. I was like, no, Bucks is not. I don't know if you guys know the history of Buck. Okay. Let's see if we can run it. I just need my wallet. My wallet. I kind of don't have my, like, I just have like, this is on my home drive.
Yeah, there's your pre-prod wallet directory. That should work.
So I'm gonna copy the path. And then if I guess I have to be here in this.
Yeah, it's the easiest to be in that directory.
Let's see. And where?
And this is the Plutus template, right?
I'm gonna do it this way.
Yeah.
Mint native app, mint native script this, and then I'm just gonna. Oh, okay, cool. And now I have to say bash, and then the mint tokens. Native, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's see. That's always, yeah. Okay, we feel good about that?
That should work.
All right, here we go. It's working. So I guess, do I want to, I mean.
Oh, pause. Yeah, we need to make sure the node is running.
Yeah.
And so this is a very primitive example of a script that will guide you through some transaction building. Right before we went live today, we were looking together at a much more advanced example of the same that Mix and Adrian have been working on. So, but this is another pattern that you'll start to see, right? Using the bash script to kind of help you with the system, but ideally opening up the contents of that script and trying to read through it so you really understand what it's doing. You do have a node running in another window?
Yep, now I got the, oh,
Okay, it might be that you have to set in your environment directory the path.
I think I do. I think I might need to, I'm just gonna close and restart it. Check this out. This is
Sure.
it's a way to. Oh, although I'll have to restart the terminal again. That might not have been the best way to do it.
Mhm. Oh, it's still
So,
kind of running in the background. 'cause I think-
yeah, dang it.
Well, hey, so this is, thank you, great for reviewing this, but I think the thing we really wanted to start with was, you said you got through this step yesterday.
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, let's get over to yeah, because I've already done this.
Yeah.
I created that token. Now let's go over to this one. Will I need the Cardano node running?
Great question. You won't anymore, because
Right.
when we start building in a front end, we're relying on tools that somebody else is running to do what the Cardano node is doing for us. Now, I hope people have questions about who and which tools, and should I trust those tools? But for now, we can start from the concept that, yeah, when we're building a dApp, we are relying on other people's infrastructure to be able to run the thing that we're sharing with the world.
Really? Okay. So this is actually, so I've already added in, basically in the module, you're building up this document. So let's go back in here. Mesh. And this is the
PBL 2020.
So this is a video, and I think I'm at a different. So I'm at here.
Statements.
Okay,
Look
so
at
this
the
is
top
about
of
where
my
I
file.
this is about where I was able to get. So this is the brain food. This is explaining that this is that native script with some more parameters, which some in my mind rolls up into a validator type of, but I don't, again, I feel like I know some things about validators. It's something about a bodega and an ice cream in my mind. But there's, but I don't have exactly it very firm and at hand. But this is more of what the native script does. Okay, and then we get down to mesh, and if someone was to ask me at the dinner party what mesh is, I'd say it has something to do with React in the front end, and that it does like helper functions for working with wallets and building transactions and etc.
That's a good start. Notice
Yeah.
that there's two different imports here. There's the Mesh SDK Core and the Mesh SDK React. So Core is built on TypeScript, which means it's compatible with any JavaScript project. Okay.
Okay.
React is a subset of JavaScript development.
Okay.
And there's some special tools that are included with Mesh just in case React is the flavor of JavaScript that you're using. I'm skipping over some details there, but at a really high level, that's what we have, right? So you can be any JavaScript developer, even of backend services, and use Mesh SDK Core. And for convenience, if you're developing a front end on React or an application on React, there's some extra really convenient tools that are provided.
Okay. Okay. So
And for anybody who's not familiar with it, you can check out the Mesh website. It's Mesh.js. Whoops, autocomplete in chat is not working. Mesh.js.
oh,
For heaven's sake, I can't type this into the Zoom chat. Thanks, Zoom. There we go.
I'm looking.
Mesh.js.
All right, all right. So basically, following along with the video, what we do is add these parts. Yeah. So let's just check and make sure that I've got all these parts in where they need to be. So the first one so there's our Mesh SDK React on our core. Later we'll add the Formic. Switch it back. Then the export function minting. So that we don't add because that's already in there, I think. And then we add this const address, use address, hub key hash, etc. This one. Yeah, this I think was already in there. And then use effect. So this one will come in later, this one, okay? And then let's check. So this is all the first part. Oh, you know what? I can run I didn't see this. Did I miss the step? Where we do the yarn dev? Maybe we do that later.
So at this point, we're starting to remove some of the scaffolding and assuming that part.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, it's just sort of like getting started back in the middle of something. I thought about this. I was like, ooh, should I stop right now? I was like,
Yeah.
So I need to get back into this. I need to open the terminal here. And then maybe get back up.
Perfect.
There. And then I need to do yarn dev. Oh, okay. It's working. Wrong browser. When I go into this browser, here it is. And so I think it opened here, and then we just need to get over to minting. This works just like a regular website. It's just minting. There we go. Okay, and then we can see that I've gotten through all some of the stuff, but we'll go back over this. Let's go back here. So that we can assume that that's done, and then we went back and then put in the Formic. We can assume that that's done. This form, that says, this needs to be your public key hash, and then there's a mint button, and let's just make sure that that's there. This needs to be your public key hash mint button. Okay. Oh, I forgot. Brave doesn't work that way. And creating the minting transaction. And I think this might be where we pick up.
Good. And yeah, that's the real bread and butter here, right? So now we've set up a whole bunch of kind of other components. We've pulled in the Formic library, just like we've pulled in the Mesh library. Formic is for forms. Mesh is for Cardano. And now we're going to combine those into a user application.
And are these, I remember that, so like this, okay, we already did this one. We already did this one. But we didn't do this one. Asset metadata, all this from Mesh SDK core. But we do have it listed, so I'm just gonna. And this, you show us how to do this in the video.
Perfect.
Or why and how to do it. You know, basically, you know. And there is some like sauce from VS Code, like this used wallet is a little grayer. I don't know if you can see it. And I don't know exactly why some of these, oh, I know why. I know why, because they're not being referenced or they are being referenced. There you go, okay.
Right. Not yet used. So when you go back for final refactoring of a Mesh app or a React application, I know that, for example, I use a bunch of tools while I'm in development, but then I make some different decisions and sometimes remove references. And at the very end of a project, I always want to go back to these imports because I'm going to find a bunch of grayed out stuff that I'm no longer using.
Right.
And to clean up my code, I can now delete all of those grayed methods.
Export default function. And it's weird. It's weird how it makes it does sort of start to make sense, you know. So we're in this export default function. Let's just make sure that we've got these in there. Const wallet, use wallet. And then add this. Okay, this goes up the thing. Oh, and I'm actually going to use all of this.
Yeah, it's all embedded in the form here.
Interesting. I'm going to look at it when I get it over there. Hold on.
Mm-hmm. So you're basically replacing lines 32 through 41 with what's on your clipboard.
Yep. Okay. That would have been a because if you do it fast and you're not, well, no, because you should be able to see it's like, okay, look, this, yeah, but it would have been easy to spot later. But anyway, thanks for not making me go down that rabbit hole. And so all that is that. And then now display your public return. So it's saying don't make any changes to the return. I think that's what that means.
Right, at this point, because the return statement is just what's showing up in the UI.
Yeah.
Right, everything that's happening under the hood, that's the thing we're trying to wire together right now.
So let's check out the UI. Okay, wait a minute. Let's see. So that UI looks good. Let's check out the instructions. I think that's it. Finally, you can mint the token in the handle submit method. This method processes the form data and is where the blockchain transaction is calculated. So let's find handle submit. Let's do it here. So we can do this little trick. Just find handle. Okay, so it's Formic?
Yeah, it's inside of our Formic method because we're using Formic to fire an event when we click a button in the form. Okay. But if you go up to the formic hook that we populated up above the return statement.
Yeah.
Look for just the word submit inside of here.
Let's do it.
Okay. So yeah, obviously we know about that one, but farther up, there's a different use of the word submit to submit a transaction. That's actually coming from the mesh library. But here on submit is basically telling the formic library what to do when that button is clicked and we want to call formic.onSubmit.
Okay.
So, okay, it says if there is an address, right? Or if there's not an address, just do nothing.
Do nothing. That's
return, right?
Right. So this is still in.
Use this.
Yeah, this is still inside this. So then it comes down here to asset metadata, name, values, token. Oh, values, token name. So there's token name.
And so on line 36, token name is initialized as nothing, an empty string.
Okay.
But then when you type into the form, every time you type a single character into the form, the token name updates accordingly.
Okay, cool.
Okay. And now we're getting into mesh stuff. So asset metadata is imported from mesh. It's a type. Mint is imported from mesh. It's also a type that takes these fields: asset name, asset quantity, metadata, label, etc.
Okay.
And then we say, okay, well, let's build a new transaction. With what? Who's going to sign this transaction? The connected wallet, whoever's connected to this application via Eternal or NAMI.
All right.
We then, remember how when you were doing Cardano CLI, you had to copy and paste your pub key hash into this file right here.
Yeah.
Now we're doing it dynamically. We're saying, okay, well, whatever wallet is connected has a pub key hash. Let's use that one in our native script. So we're basically just spinning up a new native script on demand based on the user that's now connected.
Okay. Sure. That makes sense to me.
Okay. You, the connected user, can mint this token from your wallet, and nobody else could actually produce this policy ID, right? Because you're the owner of the pub key hash. You hold those mnemonics that you typed in to your NAMI or Eternal wallet.
Right.
And so this token can only be minted by you.
Nice. That makes me feel kind of special. All right. So then there's, and so where does this lives on Formic or on Mesh?
Great question. This is a mesh function, and you can find it in the mesh documentation. Yeah, if you go all the way up to the imports, you'll see it being imported from Mesh Core.
Mesh Core. Aha. I think it's, is that what it is? No, it's Forge script.
Yep. And then because we're using a native script for minting, which is not the only option, we also have to import that. So if you look at where it says Forge script,
yeah.
Forge from what kind of script? Oh, from a native script. So that's a function inside of the mesh libraries. It's just running in the background from native script. And we have to pass it a parameter. What are we passing it as a parameter? We're passing it the native script that was just defined dynamically on line 61.
Yes, I love it. Okay. See, it makes sense. It's just, it's weird. There's a real mindset. It's just like, no, you can read this. It's readable. It's not It's not just a wall of junk. It's a language. Oh, and the update from Dan, just for folks listening at home, his boat is not sinking.
Oh, geez.
Did you hear about this?
Oh,
Meanwhile, in the canal.
anything can happen.
Yeah, and I am mindful of the time. I hope we're at 11. We're at 37 minutes in the hour. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is helpful too, because this, again, this is the pattern that we're going to look at, but it's just going to be dramatically expanded when we get to the faucet project. And the key thing we have here is on line 58, you create an instance of a new transaction.
Yeah.
Okay. In this case, there's only one transaction in question, so we only need one instance, but it has an arbitrary name. TX could be anything, right? It could be llama or banana right there, but it's reasonable to call it TX.
Oh, okay. And then these,
once it's created, we can run methods upon it, and that's what we're doing on line 68.
yeah. Okay.
Now, in this case, it's a pretty simple transaction. What are we trying to do? We want to mint an asset. And if you mouse over mint asset, let's see if your TypeScript server is working. All right, we want to configure TypeScript, but we'll save that for a deeper dive. But you can also just look in the documentation for mesh to see how mint asset works. This is all at mesh.js.dev. Okay. And it takes these two parameters, a forging script and an asset.
Oh, okay.
Both of which are defined above. Forging script on line 65, asset somewhere higher up in the file.
Yep. Right here.
There it is.
Okay, cool.
And then after you build a transaction, what do you want to do with it?
Yeah, sign and send, but so an unsigned transaction has to be built, and then that gets unsigned, and then so you kind of have to read these backwards, right? This takes in the unsigned transaction, and then signs this on the wallet, and this becomes the signed transaction. And then we're going to take the sign to, oh yeah, here we go. We're going to take the signed transaction and submit it. We'll run this function on the wallet. And the wallet, we initialize somewhere up here. There you go, use wallet. Okay, and then that's some mesh
So that's
stuff.
a React hook. This is the React mesh part. And if they didn't provide that, we would have to write a whole bunch of boilerplate just to like get a wallet running. But because they provide this hook, we now can just have a bunch of common functions on wallets, for example, like submitting transactions.
Is that a, oh, okay. Use wallet. Yeah, that's a mesh React, not mesh core, but mesh React. Okay.
Exactly. This would not work with other flavors of JavaScript. So if you were working in like, there's another framework called like Angular, for example, which is different from React. This wouldn't work over there, but mesh core would.
Okay.
Line 75 is where where the window pops up that has you signing the transaction. Okay, so if you ever clicked a button in any web application and the window has popped up, sign this. Line 75 is what's making that happen.
Okay.
After you have a signed transaction, it still might not be valid. It's possible to sign a transaction that should not go through. And so it's actually validated by running line 78. Hey, submit this thing. I signed it. Now submit it. And you either get confirmation that it worked and therefore it's a valid transaction, or you get an alert that for some reason it didn't work.
Okay. And then is this out of, this is just some other,
Is that
This is-
repeated from up above? Can you just search for use effect in this file?
oh, I bet it is.
No.
No?
Okay. I think I'm not
Well, it's
sure.
just,
I think that no, I think it should be fine there, right? Because everything's in the use format. This should work.
yeah. Yeah, it's you know, it's not in a time, like this isn't the flow does, you know, this could, because it just calls this, right? It's a component
Right.
or a,
On demand, right? And actually on line 92, you see after the comma, there's an array. It's called a dependency array. And basically it says, hey, if the address ever changes, remember this is the address that comes from the use address hook, okay? And it's the
Okay.
address of the connected wallet. If the address of the connected wallet ever changes, then we have to set the public key hash again.
again,
So
yeah,
fire
yeah.
this use effect anytime address changes.
Okay, I'm saving, that's saved. Oh, I think that's saved. And let's see if let's mint a token.
Let's try it.
Let's mint a token. Dun, 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 dun.
Way number 3.
Okay, that looks good. And then I just copy this over.
Yeah, it's just having you play. Like, obviously, this is not the user journey you would probably want to go on, but just so you can see how the system works.
Not syncing.
Love it.
And I think 25 of those is probably good enough. Let's try it. It's going to ask me to sign. Oh, I got to do my password. All right, let me find my password. I'm going to stop sharing for a second.
Sure.
Why not? Why not?
And for anybody, like, I love Eternal Wallet for uses like this, just because it gives us a really nice way to look at all of the UTXOs in and out from a transaction. So always be sure to review that. That gets even more helpful when you start writing more advanced transactions that are pulling in and out from different contracts.
Oh, now check it out.
Did it go through? Did you get the alert?
It didn't. It hung up on my. So there's a window somewhere. There it is. Okay. But it doesn't show up. It doesn't show up as a. It shows up as an eternal window. Oh, I guess that there it is. But anyway.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
No time limit. 25 not syncing. All that stuff. Download unsigned. We want to sign it. I want to go back over here. Okay, there's an alert. 25 not syncing are minted. Congratulations. Bing, bang, boom. And if I look up this address in Cardano scan, put this, make sure it's on this. And then go to maybe not on there yet. There's
It takes a few minutes because, right, first it has to be confirmed on chain. And then whatever Cardano scan is using to gather and index this information has to be updated. So you'll always see the on-chain confirmation in your wallet, maybe a few minutes before Cardano scan. But there's good reasons for that.
Right, and I could just look here on my wallet.
Right.
Not sinking, 25.
There they are. You got them.
Nice.
Congrats. Very cool.
Oh, but where are my other ones that oh, that's on my CLI wallet. That's on my CLI wallet. Yeah. Okay.
Cool. So I know we don't have long, but I just want to connect what Newman just shared from this basic minting transaction and bridge that to the much more complicated transaction that's in the PBL faucet project. Maybe we finish with that today. And then we still have to get back to troubleshooting and figuring out why certain tokens are appearing and not. There's some good reasons for that too. But maybe that's where we can start next week. But let's see how far we can get in the next 12 minutes. I'm gonna share.
204 step 5.
Yeah. But I want to do this in the way of just looking at,
Oh, James,
yeah.
if I run locally, I get an error on the aggregator page.
Oh, let me see. There's a few reasons that might be happening, and that might be also a global error happening right now as well. So let's look at that first.
It's weird because I was testing the GraphQL query, which is done,
Mhm.
but I cannot get, it returns the hashes and it returns 16 objects, which is like, looks like the amount of objects that are returned, but the data fields seem to be empty, cannot retrieve those.
That makes sense. So right now, this is the live deployment right now. Let's see how the aggregator is behaving. Okay, so far so good over here. But you're saying when you're running it locally, you're getting some errors in returning this. Oh, actually, and can you see my screen? Sorry.
Oh,
Yep.
yep.
Okay. And let's just okay. So yeah, the aggregator is currently working live. But Martin, should we jump in and see if we can troubleshoot what's not showing up on your screen right now?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Nice. Hey, Chris, what do you think?
Can you see my screen?
Yep, looks good.
Yeah, we got it, Martin.
So unhandled runtime error.
Right. And have you made changes locally as you've been working through this?
Well, I got to this area. If I comment this, I just disable it just to get a starting point.
Right.
Oh, wow, I did see something. Huh? That's weird.
I can't see your VS Code or anything right now. All I can see is the error.
Oh,
Yeah, in the browser.
oh, you only see the browser.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's something with the sharing. I don't really know in Linux, maybe.
Is sharing paused if you look at your Zoom toolbar?
Oh yeah, your screen sharing is paused. Why is it saying that?
I tap that button by accident all the time, and I need people to speak up because I don't
Oh.
notice when I did it.
Wow. Oh, okay. So I did that by accident. Is it now sharing?
Oh, looks good. Yep.
Oh,
Oh yeah, we got VS Code now.
Good. So when you comment that out, does the page load something? And just make sure to save that file that you just edited. Yeah, try reloading now. Fine. And so kind of an interesting thing here. First of all, we see nothing except we do see these numbers, right? So we know that it's mapping over something. There is a successful result with 17 items in it, right? It looks like the problem is happening because at least one of the data items being returned is causing an error. And so let's just uncomment lines 41 and 42 again to look at what that error is. Oh yeah, right, just 42. Perfect. And yeah, leave 41 commented out. We'll stay away from that for just a minute. Right. And so, of course, what is it not finding? It can't find this faucet Plutus script, it appears, right? So it seems that that's the problem. So there's a few things we could look at really quickly. First of all, where is that faucet Plutus script being defined? It's actually in the faucet dynamic instance, right? And actually, I like what you did there with the with that additional that line 41 that was commented out. Right? You're basically just showing us the results of the query from GraphQL. Can you uncomment 41 and re-comment 42 and show us what that looked like? This is a really nice practice if you you can do a lot of this in the GraphQL playground. You can do a lot of stuff by logging things to the console. But sometimes I'm the same way. I like what it feels like to take a peek at just what's appearing on the page. There's going to be an error here because the box on line 42, you're not closing the box tag. Okay, so just grab the slash bracket. On line 42, after the word value, there's a curly bracket, then yeah, those two characters. You just need to move those two characters to the next line or to the outside of the curly bracket. Yeah, that works. Maybe move them to the next line. Yeah, just press enter once. Yeah, cut what you're highlighting right now. Just, yeah, in between lines 42 and 43, we need a slash, and then we need to close that box tag. Oh, no, we don't. Sorry. No, where was that coming from? I'm sorry. I'm confused. I was wrong. forget all that. Sorry, I got really confused right there. But why is nothing showing up? When you refresh the page, we should see some data.
Okay. No error.
Oh, no, because it's not data we want to see. It's the TX we want to see. There, go back to right where you were. There's just one thing we have to change. On line 41, you see where you're using the word data. We're actually already mapping over that data. So replace data.transactions index with just TX.
Oh.
In other words, on line 41, go to the word metadata. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, keep going.
Oh, not that far.
Yep.
Oh, that far.
All right.
Okay.
Show us what this looks like.
Show me the money.
Because metadata is actually an index. Go to the GraphQL playground for just a second. There's a reason why this is happening. And if you look at, so now we're in a transaction, we're trying to look at the metadata, right? But you see how metadata itself is actually an array. It's got a square bracket there because multiple bits of metadata can be included on a transaction. Now, one thing we could do is we could just print all of the metadata. Yeah, or you can just take the first one and that's going to work too. All right. Now, this I think is also going to give us an error, but it's an easy one to fix. Yeah, we're not allowed to print an object, but what you can do is on line 41, instead of using the, well, no, let's just do it a different way. Inside those curly brackets, let's put JSON.stringify in front of this.
There you go.
All caps JSON.stringify. And then wrap everything else. Yeah, you got it, in parentheses. And that paren goes inside the curly bracket. All right, this is going to show us some raw metadata.
Here we go. Dun, dun, dun. Yes.
Okay. So let's look at that. Is there anything that might be creating the problem here? Or how would we identify which one of these is the problem? And here's a quick little trick for you while we're here. And I know we got to wrap up in just a minute, but one more trick for you, Martin, to make this easier to read is inside those parentheses for JSON stringify, write a comma and then null and then the number 2, null comma 2. And then change that from a div to a pre-formatted block. So that div tag should be pre instead. All right, now it's going to be a little easier to read on the page. Okay. So for each of these, we could look into this, but what we really have to figure out, oh, and it's still printing it as a grid because we're mapping over these into a grid. So we've got a 2-column grid right here. But basically, we want to look at this data and figure out, okay, well, is there anywhere that this metadata doesn't look like it's supposed to? But I don't think we're going to find that. Okay. Remember what the error was. It couldn't find the script itself. Okay. So really the reason this is happening, and I don't know which one it is, but one of these contract addresses here is not yet in your in your project repo. Okay. So if you go back to VS Code and you go to Cardano at the top of the source folder, there it is, Faucet Mini project, and then this Faucet Plutus list. Oh, this list only has 2 items in it. Okay. So right now, how many items did you just get the results for? You got them for 17 different registered contracts. Okay. And those 2 addresses that are already there, that ending in 0AEG and ending in 8Q3M, you would be able to find both of those addresses on your browser page right here. There it is. There's one example. Okay, so that's the T scaffold token that came with the lesson as the first example. And then there's one more. Maybe it's the one that you added. And sure enough, right? There's your token. But remember, we talked about yesterday, your token wasn't showing up properly on the front end. And I think this is just a matter of pulling the latest changes. Okay, so if you go into where you're running this locally and stop your server and just get status to make sure you're on the main branch. Yeah. And we are going to want that change. Well, but you can recreate it because do you have your compiled faucet script somewhere? I just want to make sure we don't lose the CBOR. Here, go into VS Code and just save somewhere in like a text file or somewhere. Back over in VS Code. Save line 4 somewhere else. Just drop that into a text file or something. Perfect. Okay. And then back in the terminal you were using for the project, just run git restore dot, and this is going to write over your changes. Okay. And then git pull. Why? You were on main. Why do you have such a short list? Are you in the same, in what you have open in VS Code? That's pointing to the same thing, right? Because the latest repo, I'm not sure why this is happening right now, but you can see it. I'll get you the link. Here's the live link for what the updated list of contracts looks like. And if you don't mind opening that in a browser. Oh, could it be that you're on your own independent fork of this project?
So that would be like git status or git branch, and it'll
Yeah, we
tell
can
you.
see via git stat. I was just looking to see they were on main, but I forgot to look at what source repo we're actually looking at in the first place. But take a look at that link I just shared.
And this should be like if he goes to local repository, wait a minute, SRC Cardano mini faucet project, it should be in his folder structure, Martin's folder structure.
Should be, yeah, and maybe you just want to like reinitialize the repo in a different folder. I'm not sure exactly why this is happening, but I want you to see the reason for the error is right here. This is the currently up-to-date version of the list of student submissions for this project. And you can see there's a lot more than just the two that were in your copy of this file. The reason you were getting errors on your end is that what do we do first? We make a query to a metadata key, and we pull down all the metadata that people have posted at that metadata key on chain. In that information is a contract address. And so what we then do is we look at the file that was just open in your browser, this faucets-plutus.json file, and we look for that contract address. That's the key for a key value pair in that list. And the value from that key is then the CBOR string that we need to validate against. There's a few reasons why this problem exists right now, and there's actually some interesting work we're going to do to change it. But this is a temporary approach to kind of sharing CBOR among different contributors to a project, and it leaves some things to be desired. But basically, we were getting that error because on your end, you were getting these 15 other addresses from the GraphQL query that had no associated CBOR. And the reason the error said can't find the length is because it was trying to find the length of a CBOR string that didn't exist. Okay. Now you're on, oh, you see, look at the URL in your browser right now. You are on the M2 Tech fork of this project. And what you want to do, yeah, you're updating the fork. That's great. But you'll also want to submit a simple merge request to the main branch that only adds your address and CBOR to that Plutus file.
Here we go. I think that's it.
Good. So that looks a lot better. All right. Run this project locally and let's see what happens.
So running it locally.
We're waiting. You can see at the bottom of the screen, we're waiting on the query to resolve.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, it's I see. Maybe refresh that page one time. Shouldn't take that long. Okay, looks good. I could stick around for another 10 minutes because there's one more thing that's gonna finish the loop. So maybe we can get this done. Is that okay, Martin? Because we still don't see your solution on the page here. And here's why.
I'll stick around. I'll stick around.
Awesome. So here's what happened. I was getting the same error that we just saw on your screen 15 minutes ago from the front end. And it was happening, it was affecting the live deployment version. And also it was happening when I tried to run the project locally. And I couldn't figure out why it was happening. When I looked deeper at it, I saw that there was a single contract address that didn't have CBOR associated with it. And now I recognize that must have been yours. The reason this was happening is because you successfully added the metadata on chain to register your instance, but it looks like you haven't yet submitted the merge request to the main branch of the Git repo to add your address and your CBOR to this faucets-Plutus file. So one way to fix this is just make sure to complete that merge request so that single line gets added to that single file. The other thing is I then had to go and create a hacky solution to the problem of having basically bad metadata. Okay, so you've actually been like listed elsewhere in the project as a problem, and you're being filtered out of the list of metadata when it comes time to showing this faucet because the metadata was creating this error. And very quickly, I forget exactly where this is, but in VS Code, let's try to find this list because this is actually getting us at a big idea. All right, I'm sorry, I'm moving quickly right now just because I know we are short on time and I have to run pretty soon too. But I can show this to you in VS Code. Yeah, leave that there. We're going to use that. But back in VS Code, open up the list. Yeah, we're gonna refer to this in just a minute. But now open up the faucet list, I believe. And go to the top of this page. It might not be this one. Oh, you see, there was a revocation list there, but then it's moved. Look at the faucet aggregator. That's commented out. That was one way to do it. All right, it's not there. What about the faucet dynamic instance? In the top of this page. Okay, scroll down through this. Keep going. Gotta find it. Okay, somewhere. Somewhere I tagged either your UTXO or your contract address to have it removed from the list of transactions that were breaking the app. And this is a primitive example of a very important concept around how decentralized identity works. I'm going to save that thread for an upcoming session because we're going to look at this again. But where is it? I just can't find it. Oh. No, that's why this is fixed. We, I forgot. There is a brand new change that was pushed to this recently. Who pushed that? Utilcoin. There's a new student with a token named Utilcoin who made a more dynamic way of doing this. So actually, right, if you successfully add your contract to the list, it should work. Yeah. So let's see what happens if you paste that in.
No, not that one. Huh, that's weird.
Maybe just open that. Is there a different place you can open this file?
Oh,
Or maybe you can just cat the file on your command line and copy it that way. That works too.
yeah, Nano and them and all the.
There's a keystroke, but you gotta be like an expert piano player to use some of those nano.
It does make sense. I've started to use the command lines to navigate around the system. It is nice, but sometimes.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
All right. This, oh, look, it is repeating.
Oh,
That's frustrating. This, what's not working about it? That's not the, okay, so all right.
yeah.
We're gonna have to pick this one up next week. We have an interesting problem, and I am just watching the clock and recognizing that I have a meeting coming up in 8 minutes, and I'm not capable of focusing sufficiently to get this done. I hope you can relate. All right. let's pick it up right here on Wednesday. So when we start live coding next Wednesday, let's finish troubleshooting and make sure that we can see the results, Martin, of your project on the screen. And then there might be some threads that we want to follow there to talk about why this was the case. And I'll take a look too over here and see if I can make sure that I'm seeing your result. But there's been a couple of cool contributions to start automating some clunky systems, which on the one hand is really, really good, but on the other, I want to use those clunky systems as resources for lessons. So I don't want this to actually be too good and too automated. So we're trying to strike that balance, but it's pretty amazing to start seeing contributions come in from people who are having ideas about how to improve these systems. So much more to come. Thanks for hanging out overtime today, guys.
Yes. All right, y'all.
Thanks for the exploration
Thank you.
before. Martin, thanks for
Awesome.
driving as well.
Anytime.
See you guys soon.
See you
Bye.
guys. Take care.
Cheers.